If you'd like to follow the process of turning a block of wood like this into a guitar like this, then you've come to the right place. And if you would like to see me give this guitar away, click subscribe, hit the bell. Okay guys, so I've got those done, and this side looks really great. However, as I turned it around, I noticed that I made a mistake. It's frustrating because it causes more work. I've got it rerouted here now. I'll show you here. It doesn't look quite as sleek as what it was when I did it the first time, but obviously it wasn't going to work the first time because the neck plate wasn't going to fit in there right. Right now this just looks disgusting. It's really looking nasty, but I mean with big old chips there and stuff. But I guess what we're going to do is we're going to work on seeing how well we can fix that to make it look good. It's actually looking pretty decent now. Yeah, I think that'll work out okay just fine now, so it'll look good. Alright guys, so in amongst building guitars, I am taking on another little project that I'm going to show you. We've got this acoustic guitar, as you can see, is in really bad shape. Make sure that you can take a look at it here, getting close up. The headstock is broken off, and I've got a box of parts here. And you might think, well, why would you put all that work into something like this? Now, on the back here, it says made in 1914 by E. Hughes. And the deal is that there is a family from my hometown. I'm from a little town in Iowa originally. They put a lot into my life. So one of the brothers of the family was my youth pastor for years while I was in junior high and high school. Anyway, his brother had this, and this is a guitar that their great grandfather built in 1914. And if you look, you can see that there have been repairs to cracks. Front soundboard here has been cracked, and there's glue all over it actually, so it has been glued up, looks like multiple times, and it's kind of a mess. There's glue here and glue here and glue here and here and here and here and here on the face of it. But the big deal obviously is this headstock. So what I'm going to do with this guitar is we're going to take these pieces that are here, and we are going to fit this back together, and I will be getting this glued back together. I think I can get it so that it can be pretty solid, and then I'm going to try and clean it up a little bit, especially get a lot of this glue and stuff cleaned off. We should have all of these parts. There's part of the bridge, more parts of the bridge. That'll come down here. Let's see, we must have more. Here we go. So this will be in here. I don't know that we're actually going to make this guitar so that it can play, but the whole idea with it actually is going to be to make it so that it could be put on a wall, that it would look decent. And they'll have their grandfather's guitar that he made it at least presentable. Okay, so now I've got it glued and clamped. Right with my rig now. Wipe off the glue as it continues to kind of seep out of this crack, because it's easier to get it off now than it will be later. So I'm going to leave this now for about 3 days. I don't think it needs to be that long. I think the bottle says that within 24 hours that I could. I don't know, I'm one of these that really likes to try and give it as much possible time as I can. These buttons are just crumbling. Look at this. I'm just touching the button for the tuning machine. Probably gonna have to replace those. So we'll check back in on this project in amongst working on the other projects, guitars that we're working on. Before I attach my bridge, I've already measured to see that my bridge saddles are going to be the same distance from the 12th fret to these as it is from the 12th fret to the nut. But then what I do is I'm just using a line to go from the nut to the bridge to make sure that my strings are going to be where they need to be as I go ahead and do that. And I see that they are, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drill a pilot hole . I do lots and lots of sanding. So if sanding would drive you nuts, then this isn't the hobby for you. For me, it's kind of a relaxing thing. So I'll start off using 80 grit to do some shaping, and then I'll move up to about 150 grit, and then I move to 220, and then I move to 320, and then I go to 400, I go to 600, and I'll either stop at 600 or 800. Usually I stop at 600 and I spray. And then I'll come back with 1,000 grit, 1,500 grit, 2,000 grit, 2,500 grit, 3,000 grit, and then finally buff it out with buffing compound. I am here in my makeshift spray booth. In the past, I have used a actual spray can with an air compressor and doing that, and I found I had actually started using this, which was a little bit different, and I actually came up with some really good coats. I've used this for probably 4 or 5 years now, and what I do, however, is I will give it like 21 to 23 coats, thin coats that I've used with this, and it takes me a long time. It takes me about a month to spray. Now, most people aren't quite that patient, but I have no reason to rush, so I get a really good coat that way by spraying. I'll spray in a day. You can spray with using this. My first coat, a real thin coat, and then about 45 minutes later I spray it again, and then about every hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes I give it another coat, all throughout a day. So I plan a day where I can just keep spraying it, because if you go past 2 hours, you're supposed to let it dry for 72 hours. So I would spray it after about an hour and a half, and then I would do that, and in one day I would give it approximately 5 to sometimes upwards on the high end, maybe 7 coats, giving it an hour and a half in between. But typically in that area, 4 or 5 coats that I would give it. And then I would let it dry for at least 3 days, and then I would sand it lightly with 600 grit sandpaper to start working out any bubbles or any little flaws whatsoever. And then I would spray it again and do the same thing. And I would do that. And like I said, it would take me almost a month, because I will spray I'll spray every few days, and I will put on around 21 to 23 coats of this polyurethane. And I've gotten some really good coats with using this Minwax fast drying polyurethane. So that has proven to be good for me, but again, it takes me a long time. So today I'm going to try something different on this guitar. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to use a Varathane triple thick polyurethane, and it says that well, you know, they say that you can put it on, it goes on 3 times thicker and it dries quicker. We're going to see how this does. I'm going to go with a little bit of the same process, except for this says dries to the touch within 1 hour. So I'm going to give it about 45 minutes and then give it another light coat and see how that goes. So we're going to see how this Varathane works. So I've got my little booth here, And what I will do is I will spray the back of this guitar, and then I will hang it up on this hook. I do this, I hang it up, and I'll spray the top. As you can see, I've got the guitar neck up there to be sprayed as well. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do a little spraying, and we'll give it the first shot. I always use a tack cloth before I spray. So this is what they come in, this is what they look like. I don't press hard because there's a little bit of a waxiness to these, so I don't want to grind the waxiness into the wood. I'm just going to lightly dust over the wood to make sure that it's clean. Any little pieces of dust that you'll have on the guitar when you spray it will come up in the form of a bubble or indentation, one of the two, on your surface. So that would all have to be worked out. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe it all down and get in there just a little bit so I don't have dust coming out. So there was one time that I was spraying a guitar, and I had done a lot of coats already, and I was getting towards some of my last coats of spray, and I saw this little white moth, very small one, flying towards my guitar. Well, I couldn't swat at it, or I could swat it right into the coat, and I didn't know what to do, so I just did what I could, and I pulled my mask down quick, and I sucked it in, which is really gross. This 3 times triple thick polyurethane, definitely sprayed different than my Minwax. This one seemed to run a whole lot easier, so I started spraying a lot thinner than what I did. I thought I was already spraying pretty thin, but this definitely ran easier, so I had some drips. Okay guys, so long story short, last time you saw me, I was spraying this guitar with trying Varathane, which I hadn't used before. I normally use this Minwax polyurethane, and so I sprayed maybe 5-6 coats with Varathane onto this guitar body, and I didn't like it. So long story short, I sanded it all off, sanded it down, started over, and I went back to the polyurethane spray, which I like the way this stuff works. So I now have, where I'm at this point, with this guitar body now, is I have sprayed this. I think I've got 16 to 18 coats on it. And now I have sanded it down to 1500 grit sandpaper. I'm now just about to start with 2000 grit, and I will go to 2500 grit and then 3000 grit. And I'm sure you didn't want to see me sanding all that, but you know, I will just show you how I do this, the sanding. Now the thing is that I might be able to be, I'm at the place where I'm sanding it down, and as long as I don't burn through the coats of polyurethane, I'll be able to polish it and it'll be done. If in this process I end up getting down to bare wood as I'm polishing, that's burning through the polyurethane, then I will have to do a light sanding of 600 grit over the whole thing again to rough it up enough that I can spray more coats. Because a lot of times I'll go up to about 21 coats of polyurethane, but like I said, right now I'm at about 16 to 18, somewhere in there. I don't always keep exact track, but what I do is I take the pink erasers that you see, and I wrap my sandpaper around that. So this is 2000 grit sandpaper, and by doing that, it gives me a flat surface. And so I've got some water here. I just dip it in the water, and then I just make small little circles, and I do this, and I do it a lot. And also, just to let you know, so when I'm doing a guitar body, when I'm doing the 15 or like 1,000 grit, 1,500 grit, I'll do the surface and I avoid these edges until I get to 1,500 grit. At 1,500 grit, I go lightly over the edges. When I'm at 2,000, 2,500 grit, then I do the edges. If you start too soon doing these edges, these ridges, that's what you'll burn through the fastest. So I avoid touching those until I get to a very fine sandpaper. So you want to just get it wet. This is wet or dry sandpaper. And the flat surface, just do small little circles. My chair's all squeaky. Typically while I'm doing this, what you can't see is behind you. I have got a 47-inch TV, flat screen TV. And so usually I've got something playing on the TV, whether I'm watching a movie or actually a lot of the time I put on concert videos because they inspire me, I guess. I don't know. I do a lot of concert videos. So just lots of circles. And this is why I just kind of break in and talk to you for a little bit, because I know that you don't want to watch me sanding this whole thing, but well, yeah, it's coming to start polishing up. So anyway, so I will keep doing this, and I'll check back in. Like I said, I'm going to go 2,000, I'll go 2,500 grit, I'm going to go to 3,000 grit, and then when it comes time to actually do the polishing, I will bring you in on that process again so you can see how I'm doing that. And here, I'll wipe this off quick just to show you as well. So in the winter time, which it's winter now, this is my little, I just make my little booth here. So I've got the neck. The neck has got, this has about 7 to 10, no, it's probably got about 7, yeah, about 7 coats on it. And so I gotta keep spraying this, working on it. Anyway, it's not ready to be sanded down yet. It's got a ways to go. So anyway, I got up above and the sides. So that's my little temporary spray booth. Anyway, we'll check in with you later.